if you're an artist that's considering doing a community-based mural, my first piece of advice is jump in, just do it. But also do it mindfully and make sure you have thought through the entire process. So understanding, are you going to work with a community group, and if so, who is that community group, and how are you going to engage with them? What do you want to stay in control of as the artist? I think articulating that from the beginning with the community group is really important, so that everybody knows what expectations are. But I often get a lot of artists who are curious about doing murals but have never done one before. And I've always say, if you can paint on a canvas, you can paint on a mural. It's just a matter of starting to think about how to make that work bigger. And that means sometimes changing your process a little bit. You're going to oil paint a huge wall, but maybe you could. That'd be fun. But just think about, what are the tools I'm going to need? How am I going to accomplish this? Another piece of advice I would give is, if you're feeling a little timid about it, join another artist in a mural. And I would say it's one and done. Once you've been a part of it once, you know how to do a mural now, and you can fly kind of the next time, or you learn a lot of lessons on what wasn't working and how to adjust for your project. Finally, my last piece of advice, especially with community murals, is to be really open and collaborative. That is going to be the spirit of the project that's going to set you up for success. That if you come in with a very rigid idea of what the project is and a very rigid idea of what your design is, and you involve community in the process, there's going to be a rub. And so coming with a collaborative spirit is going to be really important.
Thinking of doing a community mural and you're not sure if that is the approach you should take, really take some time to think about what your capacity is in the moment. What do you have going on personally in your life? Do you have a couple kids to take care of and a lot of responsibilities at home and not that many connections to local artists or people? Are you going to be on your own, or do you have a community liaison who knows everybody in the neighborhood already? Think about your resources, and not just financial resources, but people and the volunteers you might be able to wrangle, and the funding sources you might be able to pick at a little bit deeper, because it's not something that you can just say price it per square foot the way you would price any other mural per square foot, or by the time it's going to take to paint it. If you start to dig into the weeds and you start to realize, oh, the community really wants a historically accurate piece of history on their wall, then you're going to have to do some research, and you're going to have to spend some time at the library, and you're going to have to commit. And it's something that once you start the process, you should be ready to finish it, whether or not you're going to make a profit off of it, whether or not you're going to be able to get through it in the right amount of time for your schedule. You kind of have to just jump in fully, because if you don't, people are going to feel like it was a half-hearted effort and that it wasn't genuine and that you didn't care, and then there's going to be more resentment towards public art in their neighborhood in the future. And so just think carefully about what your capabilities are, and if you find yourself a little bit short in one area, find someone who can help you, because the best thing that we've been able to do is to expand our artist connections, and we have probably at least a dozen artists who have helped us on these murals that we can kind of call on to help with things and to connect with other people. And the more that you do it, the more you kind of build those connections and the more support you can get from the community. So now that we have been doing this for a while, we get a presentation of an opportunity and we're like, well, I guess we're gonna do it, because we can't really, we feel like we can't say no almost. But sometimes we probably should think a little deeper about what our capacities are, what our timeline is, and what we can really give, because you don't want to wear yourself out to the point where you're not getting any fulfillment or joy from the process. Because you're the ringleader and you gotta bring it to each interaction, and you gotta make people feel like this is the coolest thing that's ever happened in their neighborhood.
the end of the day, it's really good as an artist to understand, or as someone who's looking at doing public art or looking at doing murals, that community participation is always harder. It always adds an element of more work, more systems. Inviting people into your process creates a space where over and over again you have to put your artist ego to the side and listen and show up as someone who's interpreting a vision that's not necessarily solely your own. At the end of the day, though, the payback, the interactions with the community, the being able to, like, the honor of getting to represent those different stories is so worth it. But it is a lot more work than not including the community in your process. There's also a piece too of Reitz, of doing murals in general are just, it's hard. Like, you're kind of becoming also like a construction worker. So you have to know that you're going to be working with the elements, you're going to be working outside, you're going to be working on big lifts, you're going to be, interfacing with the community, whether or not they're part of your process. And it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you get to really see and feel the impact of what you're doing.
Advice for up-and-coming community muralists. Just like nuts and bolts, have contracts. So even if you're doing something for a nonprofit or something that doesn't seem super official, make sure you have something in writing that says that you're not responsible for damage to the mural. And I've found out that damage can be caused by weather, can be caused by bad walls and water seepage, graffiti. Just set yourself up that if something does happen, that you'll be paid, or there'll be some sort of new situation where you'll get paid to go fix it, but that it's not on you to be responsible for anything that was building or weather related. And so that I learned the hard way, having to redo almost an entire mural because of bad roofing and leaking on the cement block. But from then on, I've been able to create a better contract that I use that just has that language in it. So really thinking about your rates and thinking about when you're going to be making this mural, how much time you'll be putting into meeting with stakeholders, right? The people who are participating. All those meetings you should charge for, and they take a lot of time. Even if it's not like big paint setup, there's still going to be materials involved, there's still going to be meetings involved. Time for designing and transferring the design, that's a lot too. And then, I think as a white woman, I also have a lot of considerations when I go into a project, especially a project that's representing a space, right? That's like potentially like a very diverse community. So thinking about how me as a woman, who's grown up in Minneapolis with a white lens and who's been an artist and who's worked with all kinds of kids over the years, what can I bring to the project, but then what other voices and perspectives need to be present in order for this to truly represent a community. And so thinking about developing partnerships, mentorships, working with other artists and collaborating with them, and trying to find ways for you to bring your skills to a project, but not necessarily, this is never about putting your name on a project. Community muralism is about the people, plural, who made the mural. And in some cases, I've put paint on a wall too, and in other cases, I've just been a consultant, and I've helped these projects happen. And all of those different contributions are valuable. So I do think that that's something, especially in 2021, that I'm very aware of, that this isn't about me as an artist. This is about what the community wants to say. And I have a lot of the skills now to take those ideas and put them up for people to see, but it's not about my voice. And so that's something that I think all artists should hear, especially white artists.
In the beginning, it's got to be persistent and tenacious just to get contact with people and to get people to listen to you and to open up to you. and to find the moments where they're together having a party and you can crash their party and talk to them, or even if you have to go to a strange place that maybe didn't expect to go to, or the kind of persistence and tenaciousness at the end when people are getting tired and cranky and worried about meeting the deadlines and the budgets, or you're worried about meeting deadlines and budgets and they're not, and just to come to work with a good attitude every day and not roll over people because of your bad attitude is a hard thing, but worth it. And then also people that are your biggest detractors, our goal is to make them our biggest advocates in the end by making sure that they feel listened to, but then coming back again and again and explaining for the 100th time why we do it a certain way. While they're still not listening, finally the 100th time when they see it work on the wall, they get why you're doing it a certain way, and then they become your biggest advocate, and then that's a badge you can wear.